Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May 12th, 2020 meeting of the Waynesboro Area School District Board of Directors. Because we are still obviously on a virtual call here, Mr. Kuzer, can we do a roll call, please?
Yes. Mrs. Bakewell?
Present.
Mrs. Zimmerman?
Present.
Ms. Reeker?
Here.
Mr. Wenger?
Good evening. Here.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Here.
Dr. Royer?
Here.
Mr. McDonald?
I'm here.
Mrs. Strite?
Here.
And Mrs. Harold?
Here. Thank you. So we have everyone in attendance tonight. Looking at the next item, which is approval of the agenda. Dr. Klein, I don't believe we have any changes. Is that correct?
No, I think we did have a couple last minute things we had put on there, but other than that, that's it. This is it.
Okay, so there's no additions to the one we are looking at now, correct?
Yeah, let me make sure.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I know we had a couple of those late additions, and but I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, good. If so, then can we have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So
moved.
Okay, that's Mr. McDonald and Mrs. Sullivan. Mrs. Kuzer, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, on to the minutes. Anyone have anything to bring up or a question about the minutes? If not, can we have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Are we getting, Ms. Kuzer, are we getting the, there we go. Or so we're waiting to vote on that?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind you.
Okay, that's okay. Well, by voice vote, everybody voted yay, so. Okay, on to the superintendent report, Dr. Klein.
All right, I'm going to ask Mr. Erickson to put that up so I can share the presentation. Basically, it's it'll be an outline here of where we're at and to, talk about next steps and such. As you can see about balancing the budget. And here are some things, again, we always want to keep in mind first choice. It's difficult to do, but that's where we're heading. We want to keep our eye on that vision as we make decisions. We have to decide what's most important and how we can have the least impact directly on students. And again, that's difficult to do because just about everything we do will have an impact on students. We want to keep our stakeholders' needs in mind. That means the community, the parents, the students, our staff, everyone in mind. This budget challenge may go to the next 2 years after this year. So I just want to keep that in mind also. And what differentiates us from cyber charter schools and other competitors, would be our extracurricular activities and things like that. Our athletics, our sports, our clubs, those opportunities for students really separate us, and that's important to know as we make decisions. So, go ahead, Nick. We had started to look at this, and we put it into 3 phases, basically, of reductions. Basic reductions, those reductions having the least direct impact on students. And then the second one would be tougher reductions, those reductions impacting personnel and landing closer to learners. And impact reductions, those reductions are much more directly impacting our learners. We use the concentric circles model, which basically means the students and first choice are in the middle. And phase 3 is the closest to the students. So we're trying to look at phase 1 as being the outer circle or the outer part of an onion, so to speak, and then working our way in. It's not going to be perfect. We're still going to have issues that are still going to impact students no matter what we do. But this is what we're keeping in mind as we move forward. Okay, what we are doing here at the beginning, professional retirements. We have at least 6. We're expecting to have more. We're going to fill as many as we possibly can internally. And right now, with what we have officially, that we have about $604,000 in savings there. And if there are others, that will continue, hopefully, to increase that amount. And we do anticipate a couple others. Support staff retirement, we see at least 7. That's 113,000. Again, we expect there could be more. We don't know. Medical insurance, we are proposing we do a funding holiday, which would save, that means about a month or 1/12 of our 2020, 2021 medical insurance payments would be cut by 445,000. So those total reductions during phase 1, and we believe we have it's not that they wouldn't have any impact on students because, again, we're going to have changes in staffing with those retirements, but we believe it would have the least impact directly on students. So we're looking at a little more than $1.1 million for reduction from a $2.5 to $3 million deficit. Phase 2, salary freeze for employees. What we're hoping that we can get all employees, if we can get our entire employees to do a salary freeze, we're looking at $948,000 savings. Second thing is the ESSER stimulus, the federal stimulus money that comes down from the federal government that to the states. Waynesboro's estimated portion is $636,000. The issue there is that our concern is that in the past, the state has filtered that money to help pay some of their bills with the district, and the districts have not always realized that total amount of money. So that's still a fear of ours that we would not get that. But if we do get that $636,000, that would make quite a difference for us. So the additional area there would be the capital reserve for buildings. Some of those projects are carried over to 21, 22, but we see a savings of about $100,000 that we could do. Many of the projects are needed, but if we hold off, we could save $100,000. And then we're proposing we use some of our fund balance. We don't have a great fund balance, but we do have some more than what we did a few years ago, and that's $154,000. So between phase 1 and phase 2, we believe we can balance the budget, but it would take all those things. Yeah, there we go. Phase 3, impact reductions. Again, these things are additional, and these don't amount to much, but again, they start to get closer to the students and start impacting students. As we peel away that onion, we're getting closer to the center. Building budget additional reductions. There are things we can find there. There are furniture items, things like that, but it will impact students because they're things that we believe will be good for students the things that we would be ordering. But if we did away with some of those, we'd probably save around $100,000. The student activity advisors, that means the various different advisory positions in Appendix D of the teacher agreement, we might be able to save about $90,000. Again, that impacts students and staff. And then the final one would be no after school or no after or early bird instruction. Not a lot. It would save us $30,000, but it directly impacts students and particularly on their achievement. So that's only $220,000. It's not a lot. Other possibilities, I guess that's a question. There are many districts that are looking at various things with curtailment of programs, economic, some of them are looking at furloughing because of economics. There are a lot of those things, but once we start looking in the programs, you're directly impacting students. So that's why we have not listed those things. Again, we are trying to stay away from the direct hit of any student as much as possible. You can tell those first two phases still have an impact, but they're the least impactive, we believe, and could balance the budget at that point. And then I guess finally there, we really got to start thinking down the road, you know, a 3 to 5 year plan for recovery, because that's probably what it's going to take. We may see reductions. We hope not to, because we're concerned about next year. Any kind of other additional reductions in staff and programming. We hope we don't have to do any of that. Possibly next year, if the economy gets worse, we may have to look at economic reductions in staff, even more possible program curtailments, again, impacting students. And then the third year could be possible. We're hoping none, but it could be possible. And then beyond that, trying to get that budget really focused on what's important to get every kid their first choice. So this is where we're at now. I think that's the last slide. So any questions for the board? Okay. We're going to continue to look at this. We're going to continue to try to put together some recommendations if we need to go down further than phase 1 and 2. We're hoping phase 1 and 2 are it, but if we need to go further, we have to be prepared to figure out what we've got to do to balance that budget. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Klein. All right, our next item is public comment, which, if you don't know, is all being done by sending your comments or questions into to the district, and then I am reading them. Anyone who wishes to comment on what we're talking about or something else right now, you could still send it in, and then it will be read at the end of our meeting today. So the three items that we have, the three people who wanted to make a comment, are all dealing with graduation, and I will read them. We are going to address graduation and our update on that as the third item in our business section, so we'll be getting to that pretty soon. The first item is from Candace Lemon, 5345 Tick Ridge Road in Waynesboro. It says, please look over and review the change.org petition that was submitted last week. It was signed by over 1,600 people. We are asking for the 2020 graduation ceremony to be held on one of the designated June dates with hopes that 2 parents per graduate can be in attendance. Social distancing in the bleachers if necessary. Also hoping the students can remain in attendance to support their peers as they receive their diploma. We realize this is not going to be a normal graduation, but let's make this as normal as we possibly can. Our kids have worked hard and deserve the best we can give them. The second letter is from Lorraine Kober, 11763 Delwood Drive in Waynesboro. I'm asking that the board consider the petition that was signed to give our seniors the possibility of a more normal graduation. Please consider the June dates to give us the possibility of parents being able to attend. This is a huge accomplishment that these kids and parents have been looking forward to for years. Please give them every opportunity to be recognized as close to normal as possible. I understand that this may not be the graduation we had hoped for due to the circumstances, but I'm sure we can come up with something better than what has been decided by the board previously. I would be willing to sign a waiver releasing the school from any responsibility if that is what the concern is. I want to be able to attend my daughter's graduation, please. And before I get to the, okay, all right. And the last letter is from Tish Wolford, 11745 Penmar Road in Waynesboro. We ask that you look over and review the change.org petition. These seniors deserve to have a graduation with at least their parents being able to be there. All we ask is that you move it to a later date. If at that time we are still unable to have parents, then at least you tried. Thank you very much. We do care a lot about what parents think, and we're looking for input here. So as I just announced, you can write in. Mr. Erickson wants to make a comment, I guess, about that. Nick?
No, I wanted to make a quick comment. We did have a little issue on YouTube side with the start of the stream. So it started at phase 2 with Dr. Klein's presentation. The stream started live at that point. And I wanted to let everybody know that it will be available for streaming and review after the meeting is over, within about an hour after that.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for anyone that tried to get on and couldn't till we started. But you can always go back and look at it, as Nick just said. Okay, thanks again for the ones who wrote in. We'll move on then, and then the next item then are board reports. I know Mr. Wingert wants a quick word about that.
Yeah, just a quick reminder that Facilities Committee is meeting this Monday, and that's May 18th, 6:30 p.m. There is an agenda being drafted.
Okay. Anyone else?
And I do apologize. I think Mrs. Sullivan and I did speak. We were going to cancel the next policy committee meeting till a further date. And I apologize. I didn't get back to her today, just to clarify that.
Okay, so policies canceled. Facilities is still on for Monday at 6:30.
Policies canceled for tomorrow.
Okay. Anybody
Right,
else?
Todd?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else?
Okay, I have an announcement.
Uh-oh, there's,
I have an announcement from the Budget Committee. Okay, can you hear me?
now we can. Try again.
Okay, can you hear me now? The Budget Committee, this is Kate.
Yes, I hear you, but you were
Okay.
slurring there.
Really? Can you hear me now clearly?
Yes.
Try again. I think that's better, yes. Uh-oh. Now she's frozen.
Is there anyone else on that budget committee that knows what she was going to say? Or
Wendy,
there she is.
Wendy, unmute.
Got me now?
Wendy's muted.
Yeah, we'll have to
Can
let
you hear
Patty
me
know
now?
we can't understand her.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Send me a text or something if I go out again. This is terrible. Okay, you can hear me plainly?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, this is from the Budget Committee. As indicated by our budget presentation on April 28th at the board meeting, the district is facing, as you know, a probable $2.5 to $3 million negative budget shortfall for the 2021 fiscal year. Dr. Klein, Dr. Sterner-Hein, Mr. Heitzelman, the admin, along with board members, have been brainstorming ways to reduce the budget deficit, yet keeping student education and student life as first and foremost as our goal. We, the Budget Committee of the school board, consisting of Dr. Wendy Royer, Cynthia Sullivan, and myself, Patty Straight, Budget Chair, in our original budget draft, we're considering a 3.4 mil tax increase, which would have generated an additional $876,000. That additional revenue would go a long way to alleviate our current budget shortfall. But our recommendation to the board tonight is that we will not, and I will repeat, we will not be recommending any tax increase to the board for the 2021 budget. Due to the unprecedented circumstances that we are facing as a state, county, and locally, we feel that we cannot add yet another layer of burden on taxpayers at this time. Remember, this is just the recommendation of the Budget Committee and must be voted upon in the final budget by all board members. I ask If you are a parent, grandparent, student, teacher, staff member, board member, citizen, or whatever stage of life you find yourself in today, that you remember that even though our budgets and capital reserves are not where we would like them to be, our biggest assets are in our students and in future adults. These are the assets that are the most valuable and the ones we need to focus on in the tough economic times we are facing. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. If not, we're going to move on to business. Wait a minute. Why don't I have the presentation? Okay, yeah, I have an old one. Let's do that. Then we're moving on, I'm sorry, to letter C, which is the presentation concerning our bonds. And I guess that's Mrs. Doyle. She's muted.
Okay, how about now?
There we go.
Okay.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. You have a refinancing opportunity before you this evening, very similar to other refinancing opportunities that you've undertaken in the past. And just to walk through the highlights, if you look at page 1 of my handout, this is 3 snapshots of the same index. This is the Tax Exempt MMD Index, which stands for Municipal Marketplace Data. And I'll focus on that lower right-hand corner. You can see right before or right around the time of the stay-at-home order, we set new all-time lows in the bond market. And then you can see the spike upward that the bond market in particular had in reaction to the financial implications and uncertainties of the COVID virus. And you can see how things have since settled down. We're not quite back at all-time lows, but still extremely attractive levels in the historic picture of things. If you look at page 2, you'll see your 2015 bonds are highlighted. That's the opportunity we're going to discuss this evening. But as always, we monitor all of your debt in your portfolio for opportunities such as this one. If you look near the bottom of that highlighted column, you can see the call date on this particular series of bonds is November 15th of 2020, which sounds really far away, but it's time to start planning and getting ready for that to be best positioned to take advantage of this low interest rate environment. If you look at page 3, there's your 2015 issue as it currently stands. So if you did nothing, you would continue to make the payments on page 3. And you currently have some pretty low interest rates locked in to begin with. You can see in column 3, the rates you have locked in range from a 2% on the short end to a 2.875% on the long end. And you do get a fair amount of reimbursement from the state on this. As you can see, the PE percentage is a little over 55%. And that gets multiplied by your aid ratio of 58% and change. On page 4 is just a calculation to show how much money we would need to pay off all the old 2015 bonds on November 15th, their first optional redemption date, principal and interest. And page 5 is the important page. I'm always a little conservative in my estimates this early on, as you may recall, but at today's lower interest rates in column 3, the estimated net savings to the school district in column 10 total $80,142. If you start at the top of column 10 and work your way downward, you can see the bulk of that would be recognized in the upcoming budget year ending 2021. And then your payments would go back to being the same as they originally were, give or take a little bit in all of the remaining years. Those are net estimated savings. You can see the box at the very bottom. The state gets the same share of your savings as they pay on the debt service. So the state share of the savings is already netted out of that $80,000. On page 6 is a sample motion for your consideration if or when you'd like to authorize the finance team to get the paperwork in order and bring this back for an opportunity to actually lock interest rates and savings in. The financing team, as always, consists of myself as your independent financial advisor, Lynch & Lynch as your bond counsel, and your local solicitor, of course. And we are suggesting that you set a minimum acceptable net savings target of $50,000. It's just a minimum. It's not a maximum. As always, it's my job to save you every dollar that I can on this opportunity. And you'll also see that we're suggesting in that last sentence a dual track process between a bank loan and a bond issue. So what that means is we'll do a competitive RFP to all the banks on our distribution list. All your local banks will be included in that. We will get those proposals back, evaluate them, and then we'll compare the best bank loan proposal to the bond market at that point in time. And whatever produces the best answer to your benefit is what we'll ultimately be recommending. The sample timeline at the bottom of page 6, you can see if you were inclined to pass the motion above this evening, we would be able to lock interest rates in mid-July. That's the earliest we can lock them in based on that November 15th call date. And we could settle in mid-August. You're allowed to have a 90-day escrow on this type of transaction and still get the tax-exempt bank qualified lowest possible interest rate. So I will pause there and answer any questions that you may have at this time, but this is very much like other refinancings that you've undertaken in the past. And it's very much like when you consider refinancing your home mortgage. We're simply replacing those old higher rates with today's lower rates. We're not extending the term of the 2015 issue at all.
Mr. Holtzman, this is nothing new. I assume you, of course, are thinking this is the way to go with this.
Yes, ma'am, I agree. And while there is a sample motion on there attached, we know that you'd like a little bit of time to take a look at this and digest it. So if it's okay with the board, we will put it on the next meeting, which would be the 26th for your discussion and action.
Well, I don't mind doing that, though. Is there any reason that anyone would like to wait on this? To me, this seems we've done this before, and if, you know, $50,000 minimum sounds pretty good to me. Would anyone like to wait, or does anybody feel like they want to go ahead and move with that motion today?
I'm okay with moving ahead. Me too.
I don't see any reason to wait, although I would like to have a copy of those pages and those figures emailed to all of us.
Sure, I'll take care of that right now.
Okay, does anybody, so I don't hear any objections. Does anyone, there's 3, let's go for it. Anybody object to that, to just make that motion tonight and get this going? If not, would someone please make the motion?
Could we see the page again that the motion was on? There.
You want to go ahead and do that, Beth?
Okay. I make a motion that we, the Board of School Directors of the Waynesboro Area School District, authorize the administration to work with PFM Financial Advisors as financial advisor, Lynch & Lynch as bond counsel, and their solicitor in conjunction with the issuance of the general obligation bonds for the purpose of refunding the district's outstanding general obligation bonds series of 2015 with a minimum net savings target of $50,000 via the dual track process between a bank loan and a bond issue.
A second.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mrs. Doyle? Okay, if not, all those in favor of accepting this bond resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any, and we'll wait on this one, Ms. Kuzer, for you to get the vote on the computer.
I don't have the motion up here, so I'm taking it by hand right now.
Okay. So you're saying you can't put the vote up?
I don't, because I can't, because it's not an action on there already.
Okay. Okay. Well, we've got a motion and a second, so we'll just do a verbal vote then. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? All right. Then I believe that passes. Thank you very much, Ms. Doyle, for coming in and, or for, I guess you can come in,
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Doyle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not sure. Am I coming through to everyone?
Yes.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
And Ms. Harold, I think as long as,
Okay, good. All right,
Your
then we'll
Camera
move
is off,
on.
Mrs. Harold.
Say that again?
Oh, there it's back. Your camera was off.
Okay, well, it went off all by itself, but okay. Okay, so now we're looking to move into business. And the first item is personnel, Dr. Sterner-Hein.
Rita is muted.
Thank you, Mrs. Reeker. All right, I'd like to direct your attention to the personnel items listed in your board docs. There is a listing of resignation professional staff, retirement of support staff, termination of 2 support staff, and several requests for leave. In addition, there's another handout with an additional resignation of support staff, the additional resignation of professional staff, a resignation for extracurricular, and an additional request for leave. Recommendation is approve as listed.
I'll move to approve.
Okay. Thank you.
I second.
Any questions for Dr. Sterner-Hein? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that motion is approved.
Thank
On to the retirement MOU.
the MOU is an MOU that you approved back a number of months ago, and we had a deadline that was in March. What we are asking that we extend the deadline, that as long as teachers would notify us that they are interested in, that they are willing, that they are looking at retirement and wanting to retire, they notify us no later than June 1st of 2020, then they would be eligible for the $500 incentive for reporting their retirement early. So all we did was extend the date.
Okay, motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions for Dr. Klein? Okay, all those in favor of extending the retirement incentive, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, on to item 3, which is graduation. I think it's number 3, yes. And as we get into what we're looking at now for graduation, I just want to remind everybody that we have so many things that are changing constantly. It seems like every day. Our original plan for graduation, we were doing the best we could with what we knew. Now things have changed to some degree, so we are going to go with our next proposal for graduation. So Dr. Klein or whoever's doing that, please go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Sterner-Hein. I know she's been working with the high school administration on this project.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so if the recommendation, an initial recommendation was the May 29th date, so in light of our current circumstance, I believe, I ultimately looking for some additional guidance as to whether or not we want to move to the June date, which I believe was June 23rd with a rain date of June 24th.
Okay, that of course was our original backup date. We have not seen anything loosen up as far as, you know, obviously Franklin County, we're still in red, which means we definitely could not have anybody witness this event, even if we could have we couldn't even have all the kids, I don't think, come under that red. So, so you're looking to see whether to go to June. I assume you think that would be a better option, or are you not taking a position on that, Dr. Sterner-Hein? Yeah, that's
I-
fine.
I'm presenting options. So we have the option of May 29th, but again, I think there's limitations. We have the option of, that we outlined in the original plan of the 23rd, the 24th. And
Right.
then most recently, we have entertained the idea of July 28th and 29th, looking at the schedule in advance if it is the desire to try to set a graduation date in July.
Okay, so then, okay, go ahead. Who's ever speaking?
No, that was me.
Okay,
So-
go ahead.
So Dr. Sternheim, if you're looking for someone from the board to speak up, I would recommend that we go ahead and cancel the May date, given the current restrictions. And I don't think at this point in time, it makes any sense to keep that date and have families plan for something we don't believe would be possible. I would recommend that we go with the June date. I also recommend that we would set a July date. I think the board should talk about which date that is, but I do think we should have a July date. And I also think that with the caveat that obviously we have to follow all of the state and local guidelines, that the board is committed to allowing, parents at the minimum to attend, recognizing it's a huge if, but that we are committed to trying to make that happen. So again, that's just my thoughts to get it started.
Anybody else?
I do, Mrs. Carroll, want to reiterate what Dr. Royer was saying, that we follow the guidelines, the health department guidelines. One of my concerns is if we didn't follow those guidelines, is that it could jeopardize funding for us. And this is not the year for us to jeopardize any funding because we are an extension of the state. And I want to make sure that we, are following those guidelines, and we don't risk any withholding of funding, subsidies, or anything like that.
Okay.
So let me ask you, Dr. Klein, would it be safer to go with a June date and the backup of July, just to be a little safer, possibly, that we would be by that time following guidelines and thereby not lose any funding?
Yeah, I think if we're looking at June of including parents in that in the commencement program, I think then it is best to kind of wait, see where things are going by then. If obviously if we're in a green, we can move forward. It's going to make it a little more difficult, even if it's a yellow, but I think we can get some advice from the Department of Health, and also look at, what other districts are doing around the state by then. Many of them are, doing virtual ones and some other kinds of things, but I know we're committed to trying to get parents there, so that may change our date.
Just an informational comment also, as part of the graduation committee, the high school people are working really hard to make this work. We'd love to have parents come, but there's something to consider in that if we are in, let's say, yellow, and we are keeping our 6-foot distance, even if you have two parents sitting together, Dr. Sternheim, you correct me if I'm wrong, we could only seat 422 people in the stands, the way we have looked at it right now. Is that correct, Dr. Sternheim?
I would defer to high school admin if they're on. I believe we said this afternoon it was 524.
Okay.
The original, so I don't know if Mr. Pappas, Mr. Weatherall, or Mrs. Kopko, if you're on, I believe the original number was 424, and the number this afternoon we came up with is 524 if parents sat next to each other.
Okay, good.
May I ask a question? Is that both home and away, so, both sets of stands?
I believe, yeah, I believe so. We had prepared a presentation that was included in the Friday folder. So, I mean, I can't see who's all on the call. I don't know if someone from the high school would like to chime in at this point, making sure that I do have the most accurate information.
I think I see Ally.
Yep, I'm here. That is correct. It would be using both sides, both visitors and home side. And Dr. Sternerheim, I believe you are correct with the number. Again, Mr. Weatherall can speak to this, but that it was in the 520 range.
Good.
So we measured, I guess, at one point, if it was one person, and then we assumed that if people would come together, where they would sit next to each other, and then measured out as well. So I do appreciate all the time and energy that they took to, basically have an understanding of the capacity of our stadium if we are asked to honor the 6 feet distance among the parents or whoever would be in attendance.
Approximately how many students will be graduating?
We have around 330.
The only thing that I can think of that would help with that, without coming up with a way to find more seating, is because it would be in June or July, we may not have everyone there. So if everyone's not there, then they wouldn't be bringing guests in. That seems like a wait and see to me. I'm sure, if we have to think about it, if this looks like it's going to happen, we try to find a way to get another 100 tickets in there so everybody could have 2, if we could. Other thoughts on this, anyone? So, Dr. Royer, would you like to make a motion then to go with your proposal?
Are we going to go with that July? I'm sorry, I must have missed something. I had not heard anything about that July date. So that's the 20, is that from admin's recommendation, Dr. Sternerheim?
We had talked earlier, and we went ahead and picked those 2 dates because it's later in July, and it was also a board meeting date, so we figured that the board would be available. But that was a recommendation that I put in the Friday folder. But again, if there's another recommendation, we can look at it. I think it's important to, if we're going to do it in July, we do it as close to the end of July.
I just wondered why we may. I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering why we would not have gone with, maybe like the 31st and 1st, so that it's on a weekend to facilitate. I'm not sure. I guess if it's only parents, but there still might be a parent that's traveling. That's just my thought. But again, I'm prepared to make a motion with whatever the board wants to do. But I do think it's important that we give the dates that we set the dates, June and July, so people could kind of plan accordingly.
Yeah, and I think, when I talked to admin, I think we picked those dates. I think we were trying to be consistent with I guess we had a Tuesday, Wednesday selected. But if we were going to July, if there's another recommendation, I will have to double check with any potential conflicts.
Okay, well, if we want to get, I'm fine with saying those dates. If I think it's important for us to set it and get it out there. So
absolutely, I agree with you, Dr. Royer.
If admin had already cleared those dates without waiting another 2 weeks for another board meeting, is this a vote, Dr. Klein, on this?
I think it would be helpful if the board shows support by voting on this. You can give us a directive, but I think it would be a good show of board support that this is what we're moving forward with.
Okay, yeah, I'll make the motion then that we go ahead and cancel the May dates, set the June dates as our first option, and set July 28 and 29 as the second option. With the board's commitment that we do everything we can to have parents attend, with recognizing that we must follow all local and state guidelines that are set forth, as Dr. Klein said.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Any other comments before we vote?
Yes, I have one comment.
Okay.
The Tuesday, Wednesday combination is fine with me. What I have noticed in the past is lots of times we have thunderstorms, which mean we cannot have outside graduation. thunderstorms lots of times come late afternoon. If we would have a Friday, Saturday morning combination, then we could maybe eliminate the thunderstorm time. Do not know. If you like these dates, I'm willing to go along with it, no problem.
We did have some conflicts with high school administration with the weekends there in June. So in order to make sure they can be accommodated, the committee thought it was important that the high school admin be there. That's one of the reasons we came up with the weekday dates.
Absolutely, no problem.
And I just want to clarify, I was just following the same pattern from June. I mean, there could be some flexibility there. I mean, I can come back with another, like, if you want to try to have a weekend date in July, I mean, I'd have to clear it with my admin.
If this is fine with admin, it's fine. This is just from past experience thinking, oh, maybe we can circumvent thunderstorms, since this has to be an outside graduation.
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to know that I am voting no only because the July is our vacation. I think I mentioned that before. And we actually have a senior graduating, but we will have to come back if it's in July. So I'm just voting no, and that's the only reason. Not that I don't agree with it, but it's just not good for us, that's all.
Anybody else? Okay, the motion's on for those 23rd and 24th in June, the backup, the 28th, 29th of July. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Mrs. Strite, okay. Okay. Thank you, and
If I may, now that the graduation dates have been set, I have a quick question. I know of one graduate who will be joining the military in June. And I know that's happened in the past. I advised him to contact high school admin for him to pick up his paperwork, diploma, transcript, whatever he needs. Is that accurate?
That would be correct. Normally, we can provide a letter to the recruiters. So I'm not sure if that's what he's requesting. We do have the diplomas in hand, and they do say at this point, May 2020.
Okay.
And we had, at this point, it's going to say May 2020.
And
Perfect. Thank you.
just to make it clear that at the last day of school, technically the kids are finished. So even though many kids that cannot go to graduation, they still will, be able to get their diploma after they graduate technically, which again, their last day is May 29th. So
I believe Mr. Pappas is online. Mr.
Yeah.
Pappas, did you want to reference, I know we had talked about the one student going in the military and needing a letter. I don't know if this is the same student or someone else.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Yes, I am working with a mom right now, and I did give her a letter, and I'm waiting to hear back from her and the recruiter, because I know some recruiters are waiving some of those needs right now because they understand where the school districts are. But yes, we work with them. We give them a letter. When we can give them a diploma, we will. We typically don't give the diploma out until they're finished their courses. But we do give the letter that states that they're on track to graduate. So we'll continue to do that. We have in the past. And again, the one mom that I'm working with right now with that, we have a process in place.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yep.
okay. And final word on graduation? And we'll move on then to the next item then. That item, I assume, Dr. Klein, we still need to discuss and vote on? There's no question whether we needed to do that or not.
well, the attendance, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sternerheim to explain while we're reviewing it. And at that point, I think it wouldn't hurt just for the board to reiterate this as we move forward. So to vote on it, actually, there are parts you probably will be voting on the same thing, but I don't think, again, I think it sends a message that everybody is in support or behind this. Any change there. And there may not be a change that actually is needed, but I'm going to go ahead and let Dr. Sternerheim explain this.
All right, thank you. So on the webpage, we have a document that was created by Orbit and essentially indicates, areas, attendance zone areas. And the information that they have within their system also indicates the same type of information. So I think where the disconnect was, at one point in time, Country Club Estates was considered part of the Summit View attendance area. And as a result of board discussion, and I believe Dr. Klein's presentation, that area then was designated as Maui. And the map and the information and the addresses that are on our website still reflect Summit View, but in our Q&A, and I imagine that, from the board's perspective as well, the vote was to move Country Club Estates into the Maui attendance area. So I think what we have is a map and addresses that look different than the Q&A that's on our website. So I just need, I guess, the vote to be reflective of Country Club Estates, although that there's a portion of that area we're grandfathered into Hooverville, that any additional students that move into Country Club Estates will be attending Maui Elementary.
So what we have here is simply clarifying the Country Club Estates is in the original gray area. I am 99% sure that we specified that back in December, but if you want to revote it, I guess we can because of the disconnect. Other board members can speak up.
That was part of the motion we voted on.
Right.
If that's the case, you really don't need to vote on it. I think the issue was if there was anything that the board felt they needed to revisit on here that it could be done. I think originally we had thought that we would be okay. But again, like Dr. Sternerheim said, there was a little bit of a discrepancy with where those students would go at Country Club Estates.
So I think we just would have to change we have to make sure that the map is reflective of that and that the addresses are also reflective of going to Maui and not Summit View.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that,
correct.
Yes. I think that it's good to just have this on the agenda, Dr. Sternerheim, and the minutes can reflect that this is just a clarification of the board, for the public, that there was perhaps an error or there was an error in the documents and that they'll be changed to reflect what the board vote was.
Sure. And just I want to clarify that it does not impact any student. At this point, there's not a negative impact on any of the students. It wasn't as if there was a group of students who thought they were going to Summit View that are not now attending Summit View. So everything has been clarified with the family. So we're good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If we feel the need for a vote, then can we have a motion then to include Country Club Estates as the Maui school area as a grandfathered in area, but doesn't really apply to anyone? Somebody want to make that motion?
If you feel you need that motion, again, like Dr. Royer said, it could be reflected just in the minutes as is.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Then if it could just be in the minutes, we already did it, so that's fine. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. On to the SECTC budget resolution.
That would be Mr. Holtzman on this.
Right.
Thank you. For your consideration and action is the Franklin County Career and Technology Center budget for 2021. Our share of the cost is going down. I have to tell you, I did already put that into our budget. So when we talk about our deficit, this is not necessarily additional good news, but it is lower than it is this year. That's a combination of a couple factors. One, it depends on our population use of the facility as well as other districts. And it's a rolling 3-year average. So it's not even just 1 year at a shot. Also, there is some debt that has fallen off. There is some capital reserve funding. From a operating expenditure perspective, the costs are only going up about $2,000. The other ones are some other items that are changing up and down based on debt, but the actual operating expenses themselves are only up $2,000 from this year. And so what happens is this mechanism comes back, the resolution comes to each board, and once a majority of the boards approve it, which means it has to be also at least 3 of the participating districts. So it's a combination of votes. Each district has so many votes plus at least 3 districts. Once they vote and approve that, then it is forwarded for next year, for 2021.
Questions for Mr. Holtzman? Okay, so we're voting on this, or you're just pointing it out?
We do need your vote on this one, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve this?
I move that we approve this Franklin County Career Tech Center budget.
I second it.
Last minute questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, if not, motion carries. On to the administrative pay freeze, Dr. Klein or Mr. Holtzman, whoever doing that.
That would be me. The Act 93 group, as listed, has proposed and has offered to take a pay freeze in knowledge of the conditions and such, to take a pay freeze to help with the budget balancing. And again, what we are doing is that they are taking a 1-year Act 93 agreement, doing it with the pay freeze, and basically that's it. The agreement is somewhat very similar, very slight changes in it, but it's for 1 year. And again, it would be with a pay freeze that they are offering to the board for next year.
Questions for Dr. Klein?
And I also want to commend Act 93 people for coming to me with this recommendation, or that with this offer. So we want to thank them and commend them for it.
Agreed. I think all
Agreed.
of us appreciate their willingness to do that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we are approving the willingness for them to take the pay freeze. Do we have a motion to do that?
So move.
I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you again, everybody involved in the Act 93 and covered under that agreement for doing that. Next item is supervisor's pay freeze. Dr.
I'll
Klein,
take
or
that.
Dr. Klein, maybe Mr. Holtzman, somebody.
I can go ahead and take that one. We had received another email this week that the supervisors were offering a pay freeze for next year. Again, those members have offered that to the board for consideration due to the conditions of the economy and consideration of the community by offering to take a pay freeze. So again, we want to commend those folks too for making that recommendation to us.
So that would be mainly the Clayton Avenue team, the supervisors that operate out of Clayton Avenue, and I believe that would include everyone in that group, correct, Dr. Klein?
That's correct.
Yeah, we again appreciate your willingness to sacrifice some here for the situation that we're in. Comments or questions?
Dr. Klein, you came forth first, and I know you didn't say anything about that, but I appreciate that you stepped right up to the plate.
Thank you.
We appreciate all the hard work all that Clayton Avenue does.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we vote? Motion to approve the freeze on the from the supervisors.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, take your pick there, Ms. Kuzer. All those in favor of accepting the willingness to, for the supervisors to have their pay frozen for the 2021 school year, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks again very much, everybody involved in those two contracts. All right, on to financial business, Mr. Holtzman.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sorry, just checking to make sure I wasn't on mute. We have the normal bills payable for your review, discussion, and action. And then we also have some purchase orders. We are continuing to do maintenance in the buildings. That's something that, we obviously have to keep up. It's replacing things such as water heaters that go bad and other work, as you could notice there in the purchase orders. We are still buying a limited amount of hand sanitizer and things of that nature, mainly just to kind of recoup some of those supplies as we need those items and getting prepared a little bit for next year, but mostly for the summer work. It does include items such as repairing machines and custodial equipment that we do use as part of our normal cleaning process.
Questions for Mr. Holtzman? Anyone? All right, if not, do we have a motion then to approve the bills for payment?
Motion to approve all of them.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so that motion carries.
Thank you.
And now on to the exonerated occupation taxes.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. These are just the normal exonerations that we submit for your review and action. These are occupation bills. There are no per capita listed this time around. We did have some old per capitas that you'll see once in a while, but these are occupation taxes that JP Harris has determined cannot be collected. And that's for a couple of reasons. It could be that the person actually was able to prove residency outside the district during that time when the bill was submitted to them, or it could be that they were truly unemployed at that time. And again, they would have documentation for those reasons. So we're submitting these for your action to go ahead and exonerate those occupation tax bills.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Information items, Clayton Cabinet comments. Dr. Klein.
One thing I want to share is that we are, our support staff will be taking a salary freeze also. How we appreciate very much what they do. They are the ones who are most impacted because they make the least of anyone. But again, it is not a board item on there, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that the support staff will be taking a freeze. So that's just for your information.
Dr. Klein?
Yes.
Just a clarifying question. You had a figure in your presentation for the freezes.
Yes.
What groups did that entail?
Well, that would include all groups if we were to, and Mr. Holtzman, I know I don't have them in front of me, but please correct me if I'm wrong, but of the $900 and some thousand, that would include our support staff, all of our administration, and also, even coaching, that kind of thing, I believe. And then there's, I believe, 600 and some thousand that would include the teachers, but we don't have that at this point.
Okay,
You're correct. That is, I'm sorry, just to clarify if I could, you're correct, Dr. Klein. That's all salaries across the board for all employees. But that 948 also includes our share of the markup for the retirement and for Social Security and workers' comp. So that's about 20%. And again, that's just our share of that cost, but that's what that 948 represents.
So at this point, and I don't, you may not have this, Mr. Holtzman, but so with what we approved this evening with, or what has been approved so far with support staff, admin, and supervisors, do you have a ballpark of what that figure is out of that 900,000? I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can tell you that it's probably, give me one quick second, and I'm going to give you a very rounded number. I would say it's probably 150 to 200,000. I mean, it's obviously a smaller percentage, just because, you know, we're primarily an organization comprised of teachers, so they're going to be the bulk of any type of those types of items of salaries. So
Okay.
it's probably about 150 to 200,000.
Okay, thanks. I was just curious.
Other questions? Anything else, Dr. Klein, with Clayton Cabinet?
No, that's it. I do want to commend all of our teachers, all of our staff for the amount of work they have been doing over these last 6-8 weeks. You know, the fact that we're doing from K to 12, we're doing planned instruction. We do get concerns from parents that it's not enough. We get concerns from parents that it's too much. I think a lot of adjustments have been made. We still have a lot of issues we're trying to get better at, but we also find this as an opportunity to look at flexible instruction for possibly in the future of snow days and things where we can actually do this and not have to make the days up. So it's just, I'm putting that out there as a possibility for next year.
Okay. Thank you.
I would just like to reiterate that, again, we're doing a really nice job with the plan instruction. We're looking at around 90% of our secondary students that are actively engaged, and probably close to 95 with elementary. We're very appreciative of our families, whether it's parents, grandparents, extended family members that are helping through this process as well. So obviously very proud of our teachers in terms of what they've been able to deliver to our learners in such a short period of time, but we recognize it is a partnership, and we're very appreciative of the time that our families are investing in their child's education at this point. So thank you.
Well, I know it isn't perfect, but I think it's a phenomenal job that administration, teachers, and families are making this work. And I think it's pretty incredible, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I agree.
Agree.
Okay, anything else administratively? If not, any other board member comments? Okay. I don't see, we don't have public opinion or public comment on here again. Did anything come in?
Mrs. Harold, there are no additional public comments.
Okay, good. Since we didn't put it on the agenda. All right, thank you. If not, then we will be going into executive session, but not coming back for legal, I believe. And do we have a motion then to adjourn?
I move to approve.
Move to adjourn. Second.
All in favor of agreeing with Jane, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks very much. And we'll go to the other site, everybody. Go back to the other Zoom room and meet in a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.